At the cost of living, cash always plays. But not everyone feels that way, especially at this time of year.
Money, like physical cash? I don't think so. It's not something that I don't think I've done. Christmas, a lot of it is about gifting, and I just think the surprise that comes with the gifting might be more exciting than cash.
Okay, so giving money isn't her thing, but some grinchy economists think it should be. Hi, I'm Paul Havershood. Welcome to The Cost of Living. If you have the perfect present for everyone on your list, hey, good for you. But sometimes those gifts fall short. And that's a disappointment to the economy. Yeah, later in the show, we look at a theory that might make Santa shake like a bowl full of angry jelly. The deadweight loss of Christmas gifts. And speaking of weight, what ingredient is practically worth its weight in gold? French butter. Some Canadians, doing their holiday baking, will shell out beaucoup francs for it. But why? Up first, the cost of living's ultimate guide to understanding why we can't escape holiday gift guides. Would you read a list of best gift guides for coffee lovers? How about presents for someone who's always cold? Yes, it's that time of year when almost every publication is out with its own holiday gift guide. Check your inbox. A bunch could be there right now. All promising the perfect gift for that hard-to-buy for someone. So how did gift guides become such a staple of online holiday shopping? Anne Helen Peterson recently wrote A Brief Theory of the Modern Gift Guide for her newsletter Culture Study on Substack. Hi, Anne.
Hi. So happy to be here.
Well, thanks for joining us. So Anne, what is the best gift guide you've seen in your inbox this year?
Oh, that's funny. Maybe my own. I don't know. Is that fair?
No, actually, that's not fair. I'm going to disqualify your own, as fantastic as it may be. You have to pick someone else's.
I really liked this gift guide for like weird boyfriends, essentially. That what I loved about it was that it was looking not for like, oh, your boyfriend should be exactly like my weird boyfriend, like be interested in exactly the same things. It's more like if your boyfriend or someone in your life drilling down on topics in this particular way, here are some things that scratch that itch.
So how do we get here where you can open up a gift guide for like an esoteric boyfriend, and that can be beside one from like Costco or Mountain Equipment Co-op or whatever? I mean, there are a lot of gift guides out there. When did the modern gift guide really start taking off?
You know, I remember gift guides in the magazines that I would pore over in the 1980s and 90s. And it really was something that in a lot of magazines, either it was like a paid promotion where companies would pay basically advertising fees, but they would send the item in, and then the company or the magazine, the publication, would photograph everything with the same backdrop. So it would kind of blend into the rest of the magazine, but it'd be like a special gift guide section. And this was really just making you aware of different products that were available. And then in the case of New York Magazine, it was like, okay, here's the place, the shop on the Upper East Side where you can go shop. And then there were also ones like in Entertainment Weekly that's like gift guides for the like Star Wars nerd in your life. But all of these things to me always felt so inaccessible, both in terms of like, these aren't things that I could ever afford. These aren't things that I could ever access. I was growing up in a small town in Idaho, and these aren't things that I would ever want. And I think we've seen a real evolution of the gift guide to be much more like accessible in all different terms of the word.
Well, when do you think that really started to happen, that we went from having kind of this, company X would send a product to New York Magazine, they would photograph it, put it in there in the way you're talking about. When did that start to change in our modern online shopping internet world?
I think the real shift is when independent creators figured out how much people loved gift guides, like loved opening them, and would actually even pay to access them in terms of like converting to become a paid subscriber. And I read about this in the piece, and it's something that I've learned myself through experience. Like, I am not someone who would ever fancy myself being like a person who is a fantastic gift giver or who has immaculate taste that you should aspire to in any sort of way. It's more that over the last 4 years that I've written my newsletter, I found that people are very compelled to convert to become a paid subscriber if they can access lists of things that I've been using lately, lists of things that I've been reading lately. There's a form of intimacy, but then there's also just like this low lift of finding like, oh, here are the things that this person who I admire or who I have, maybe a sort of a parasocial relationship with, here are the things that they're using. And it's not even that you necessarily like follow all of those recommendations. It's more the pleasure of seeing what someone is recommending.
Okay, so you're seeing that, but then do the gift guides themselves, what kind of purpose do you see them serving?
I think they're shopping. I think this is the contemporary form of shopping. It's like a curated shopping experience where you're not necessarily buying all of the things. It's that you're opening all of the windows. Someone is directing you to the windows that you can open on your browser and just kind of take a look at. And the internet shopping experience is so vast, so bottomless that it feels really useful to have someone who can kind of hold your hand through that experience.
So it's like curation, except with the added twist of you kind of have a relationship with the curator.
Yeah, or like you trust the curator, or the curator isn't like a huge snob who's only going to recommend whiskey cubes for your dad. Do you know what I mean? Like whiskey stones. Like that's the thing that I always felt with a lot of gift guides that started popping up in kind of the 2010s that were a little bit more accessible. Like there would be things on blogs that are like the best gifts for your dad. And it would always be whiskey stones and like nonfiction history books, which a lot of dads do appreciate. But I think a lot of people are also alienated by those gifts. They're like, my mom doesn't like scarves. Like my mom's allergic to wool. Like I can't, none of these things are for that. My brand of mom is very different than that brand of mom. So I need a more diversity in terms of my curators. And I think that's what you're getting with newsletter recommendation lists like this.
Can you explain the business side of gift guides? Like are these recommendations genuinely chosen by the people who are writing about them? Are they sponsored in some way?
I can only speak to what I know amongst other independent newsletter writers, which is that this is stuff that we actually like. Some people have affiliate links. So an affiliate link is when the thing that you are promoting on your site is part of an affiliate link program, which means that if you link to it in your newsletter, then a certain percentage of the sale goes back to the person who linked it. And oftentimes, the companies that participate in these programs, they are fine with losing that little bit of profit because they know like, oh, I'll make it up because there will be more sales. And oftentimes as well, these companies that are participating, they're big companies. So it's not like a small business down the street is a part of an affiliate program. It's more like J.Crew. And, this is one way that a lot of places, newsletters, but also like big media corporations like the New York Times, New York Magazine, whatever. This is a way to replace a lot of like the advertising dollars that have been lost in this current iteration of the internet. But it does add like a little bit of friction into that understanding of like, oh, we're just promoting this because we like it. Like, I think what most people would say, I only promote things that I actually would endorse. I'm not like putting some random thing in here just because they have a really good affiliate percentage. But there is just some question of like, oh, is this person not linking to something because it's not participating in an affiliate program? So that's just like a layer of, I think, like, what's the word? Just an extra layer to consider. I don't think that everyone who does affiliate links does not endorse the things that they're using. But I do think that sometimes consumers sometimes question okay, is this an authentic link or is this an authentic recommendation?
Some people are really good gift givers. I'm sure we all have people in our lives where we're like, man, that person gives a good gift. What about you? Do you find pressure to find and sort of buy the exact right gift for someone?
I think it depends on your family members and what your traditions are. I am part of a family that is very much let's make lists for each other and then maybe buy a couple other things, very practical, very pragmatic about how we shop. And a lot of that I think has to do with when I was a teen and only wanted exactly the things that I wanted on my list. The key to being a really good gift giver, someone who buys an amazing thing, is not having a lot of money, is not reading a lot of gift guides. It's actually paying attention and having some sort of knowledge of the person over the course of the year. And so I think that that's a lot harder to access and not something that you can solve by just reading a bunch of gift guides. You actually have to have some form of intimacy and knowledge of a person and spend a lot of time listening to the person that they are and what they like and what would make them happy.
Okay, but assuming we're not all caring and empathetic the way you're describing, but I know that we all are. But if you're not, do you have a unifying theory then of why gift guides are now so prevalent?
Oh, I just think people like to shop. This is what I keep talking to people about. They're like, oh my gosh, there's so many gift guides. And I'm like, people love to shop and there aren't a lot of avenues for a curated shopping experience. There just are not enough malls. People don't go to we have extinguished the mall with our abundance of online shopping options, but then we also realize that online shopping is not very fun. So how do you have a more fun online shopping experience? You browse through gift guides. And I think that, at least from the user perspective, that's what's driving the popularity. And then you have all of these creators on the other side who are realizing, oh, this is an incredibly popular feature. Even if I write about, running culture, I'm going to create a gift guide.
And that's how gift guides ate the world. Thanks, Anne.
Thank you so much.
Anne Helen Peterson writes the newsletter Culture Study on Substack. On your radio and by podcast, this is The Cost of Living. I'm Paul Haverstrood. When you think imported luxury, what pops into your head? A Rolex, maybe? A Ferrari? Our producer Danielle Nerman finds Canadians are splashing out right now for something rich, velvety, and French. And if you just thought, a scarf from Hermes? That's not it.
When Yusuf Treya is feeling really decadent, he cuts himself a slice of brie and slathers it with butter. Not just any butter, French butter.
When you eat it, it's like you're eating whipped cream almost.
Yusuf owns a small grocery store in Calgary called Bridgeland Market. He carries a lot of local stuff like produce and meat, but leading up to the holidays, when it's time for Christmas baking, Yusuf brings in 5-kilo buckets of French butter and sells them for $350.
The importation tax is something like 200%. It's astronomical, right?
The tariff on foreign butter is actually 298.5%. It's how Canada protects its dairy industry. Yep, that's supply management, folks. Despite the price, Yusuf always sells out of Le Beurre because
You don't make friends with salad. You make friends with fat.
You don't win friends with salad. You don't win friends with salad.
most of the Canadian butter you'll find at grocery stores has 80% milk fat. But the fat content in French butter is even higher, between 82 and 86%. And for bakers, that matters. Because, as the saying goes, cooking is art. Baking is science.
I'm always trying to apply the science I've learned during my studies into my baking.
Saeed Mdahoma has a PhD in neuroscience and teaches pastry classes online. He calls himself the pastry nerd, So, let's get nerdy. If you're making pies or tarts and you use French butter, Saeed says the dough is much easier to work with.
Because it has less water, it's less likely to stick to your rolling pin if you're trying to spread it. The other thing that makes French butter, high-fat butter, really good is how it has a high melting point.
This is important when you're baking pastries like croissants.
You want those croissants to rise, and rising happens at room temperature. Regular butter will tend to melt at room temperature, but high-fat butter will not melt unless it's really, really hot, so it's better to use French butter for that reason.
Now, it's not like there isn't a Canadian version of this magical super high-fat butter. A few dairies do make it, but...
Okay, it hurts me to say that because I'm both French and now I'm Canadian, so I don't want to pick sides, but actually, yeah, French butter is slightly better when it comes to taste.
And it is about a third of the price in France. But if you're thinking of bringing a few blocks back in your luggage, that's a no-no. This year, travelers faced more than $80,000 in fines for smuggling butter into Canada. French butter can be imported commercially. That's why Yusuf Treya can stock it and has already sold 100 kilos. And he does put some aside for himself, but keeps it under lock and key because there was that one year when he forgot to put it away after a big party.
I'm passed out on my couch, and all I hear is this smacking. And there's my cat staring at me with butter all over his face.
Sanford helped himself to about $15 worth of French butter.
He's got that fancy taste. He's highfalutin.
For The Cost of Living, I'm Danielle Nerman.
Okay, show of hands. How many of you still need some last-minute gifts? No pressure, but the clock is ticking. The malls are slammed. So, here's an idea. What if you just gave cash?
Money, like physical cash? I don't think so. It's not something that I don't think I've done. Christmas, a lot of it is about gifting, and I just think the surprise that comes with the gifting might be more exciting than cash.
I feel like physical gifts are nicer just because, like, you have to put thought into, like, what you'd like and stuff. Those are always obviously more special.
It takes away from the, like, caring for a gift. I'm a big gifter, so it feels more thoughtful to give them something than a gift card.
Okay, so that's kind of a big no on the whole cash idea, Jen Keane.
Sounds like it, doesn't it? I get it. I love the hunt for the perfect gift, especially if the receiver is me. No, it's fun. It's fun wrapping up the presents, putting them under the tree. But something maybe we haven't considered is the economic efficiency of our gift giving.
Is this something we should consider?
Well, an American economist did, and he published a paper about this a long time ago.
I'm not actually sure what the title. Here, let me just do a Google search for the title. But I think it's called The Deadweight Loss of Christmas Giving. Deadweight Loss of Christmas Giving or something like that.
The deadweight loss of Christmas does not sound especially festive.
It doesn't. That is McGill University prof and economist Chris Reagan, who I called up because I wanted someone to explain this theory to me.
So the basic idea of this paper is that when people give Christmas gifts to each other, very often people that are receiving the gift actually don't like the gift or they don't value it very much. And so what we're actually doing is destroying value in the process.
Now, if you want to break that down a little bit further, it's kind of like this.
I am going to give you a Christmas gift. I spend a bunch of time thinking and shopping, and I end up buying you a $100 Christmas gift. You then open up the gift, and maybe I've nailed it, and so maybe you just love the gift, and it's worth a huge amount to you. In which case, this is great. But very often, as we all know, you're going to open up that gift and you're not really going to like it. It's not going to be your color. It's not going to be your style. It's not going to be something that you ever wanted. It's really not something that you want at all, in which case you probably value it far less than $100.
Okay, what if I do value this gift at far less than $100?
Then that's the deadweight loss of Christmas. And the original author of this paper, an economist named Joel Waldfogel, he figured this out and he estimated the loss to be about 10% per gift. Now, if you think about the money that Canadians spend every year on Christmas gifts, we're talking about millions of dollars collectively.
But in theoretical money.
Yeah, theoretical money, but that's what economists do. They theorize, they model things out to explain the world.
Okay, so then what would be better for the country? Like, what would be more economically efficient?
Obviously, money. I mean, the gift of cash. Because if I give you $100, you value it at $100. And you can use it to buy exactly what you want.
Okay, I like the optionality of that. Spend the cash on what you want. But, counterpoint, Jen, where's the love?
Love is for Valentine's Day. There's no love in economics. It's all about efficiency. And I find that fascinating. So I asked Chris Reagan, why do economists care so much about efficiency?
Well, man, if we don't, nobody else is going to.
Santa's not going to.
Well, look, efficiency is about creating value. So efficiency is a terrible term. We should really, I'm the author of an economics textbook where, the word efficiency is used a fair amount. And maybe we just shouldn't use the word efficiency in polite company, because sometimes what we mean is, a policy that achieves its objectives at the lowest possible cost.
Do we need to be achieving objectives at the lowest cost during the holidays?
I sense your skepticism here.
A little skeptical.
I guess the answer is no. We don't need to, but it is fun to think about. And this theory, it's like the ghost of Christmas past. It just keeps coming back year after year. Economists have been debating it for 3 decades.
I think this idea is a great one for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's a really good application of a basic and a central economic concept. Number two, it sort of reveals economists to be geeky and unemotional and maybe even Grinch-like. And number three, once you understand it, you sort of realize that everybody will resonate with this idea. And we all know it's true.
I mean, come on. You can't tell me that you've never received a gift where you didn't think, I could have used the money instead.
I mean, feet to the fire. My mom has probably given me a couple sweaters over the years that I was like, thank you.
Your mom might be listening right now.
No, please. Love you, Mom. Love you.
It feels bad to admit this, right? Your mom, who you love, gave you those sweaters. And that is why economist Charles St. Arnaud thinks this theory is best seen as an academic exercise.
Well, I think in some ways it's an interesting theoretical concept. Like often in economics, we love having just strange topics just to kind of sometimes put it to the extreme. I don't know if that was the aim of the original author of the study, but sometimes it's good to put it to an extreme and kind of see, okay, what can we learn from that, even though if it's extreme and maybe the conclusion are a bit controversial.
Also a bit cold and calculating. Charles says when you apply this theory to the real world, it starts to fall apart.
If the only aim was to make sure that the other person is the happiest from the gift, yeah, giving the money and making sure the person gets what they want, yeah, it's the most efficient way. But if we add a second layer that maybe the other person gets happiness from knowing that the other person actually took the time to think about the gift, especially if it's something that was like a craft that the other person made, that they even didn't involve them to buy something. So it's that. It doesn't include all the variable that could be involved.
The warm fuzzies.
Yeah.
Hey, the warm fuzzies matter, even if they're hard to model.
I'd rather give those thoughtful gifts than giving too many gifts that are meaningless. I think the small, meaningless gift, those are the inefficient ones, because then you're spending on things that you know the other person might not appreciate.
So don't send Charles St. Arnaud cash in the mail for Christmas.
All right, what about you, Jen? Do you want the thoughtful gift, or are you just like, no, you know what? Envelope full of cash. Yeah, it's fine.
Well, an envelope full of cash can be thoughtful. I mean, I guess if I'm going to enter the debate here, but then also, I don't know, what about you? Do you like cash? Well, it's a little cold, right?
Yeah, no, I would like a thoughtful gift. I think I would, because it also shows that person, they're paying attention. There's an intimacy there. And hey, what's the point of all this if you're not doing something with just, a little bit of love? Again, even if you can't quantify it.
Right, I'll put a stop order on that check that I have for you.
No. Don't bother. If it's in the mail, I'll accept it. Thanks,
okay.
Jen.
Merry Christmas.
And to you. The Cost of Living is produced by Daniel Nerman, Ellis Cho, and Jennifer Keene, with help from Jeff Kynock. And all of us this time of year just wanted to say,
Merry Christmas.
L'chaim.
Feliz Navidad.
Joyeux Noël.
So, basically, happy holidays, everyone. I'm Paul Haberstrood. Thanks for listening.